Leaving a relationship that has run its course can be challenging, but in the long run, you'd have saved yourself and the other person a mountain of heartache. Now listen, I'm not speaking to those that are married. Why? Marriage is a different ball game, and I believe that marriage is a sacred covenant or a commitment between God, a man, and a woman. So that's a conversation for another video. This video is geared towards persons who are currently in a relationship and those that might have just gotten out of one. You know? So as stated in the beginning, leaving a relationship that has expired can be challenging but liberating in the long run. And notice I said in the long run. It's not gonna feel good right away. So firstly, you have the courage to acknowledge that the relationship has expired, for whatever reason that may be. That's up to you. Now you're looking to take the necessary steps to moving on. But keep in mind, you can't move on if you haven't acknowledged or accept the fact that the relationship has ended. You have to come to terms with that. And I believe that you've completed the most important part, or one of the most important part. Acknowledging, accepting that, all right, this relationship has run its course, we've grown apart, for whatever reason, as I stated. Now, when moving on, your focus should be on your personal growth, not to dive in, whether head, feet, or toe first into another relationship. Too many times we fall into that trap. And notice I said we, because yes, I myself have been guilty of that. You jump out of a relationship and you jump back into one, only to end up back at the same place with even a worse heartbreak. So you need to allow yourself, and this what I'm about to say is something that you may not want to hear, but you need to hear it. And it's that you need to allow yourself to grieve the loss of the relationship. And I know you must think that that's not necessary, or that's a bit over the top, but you thinking that is the very reason why you should. This is the most important part. And if your relationship wasn't meaningful to you, then this video doesn't apply to you. I'm speaking to those that loved their partner, those that had strong feelings towards their partner, who it was a bit difficult to come to terms with that. All right, the relationship is ending. So those are the person that I'm gearing this towards. Now understand that grief, now let's use the word heartbreak here. Heartbreak is a change you did not want. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that there are persons out there openly seeking heartbreak. That would be absurd, a bit crazy. So especially if you're young, 18, early 20s, a breakup can be extremely hard. I mean, you know that there are other persons out there, but you feel as if your whole world is shutting down. And now with social media on the high, it doesn't get any easier. Think to back then when a relationship had ended, all you have to do was take the hook off the thing. I wasn't born back in those times, but I can imagine that you just take the phone off the hook, and that's it. No calls can come in, or you just stop writing. As I said, I wasn't born back then, but I can imagine that it was easier back then. With social media now, it takes every ounce of willpower for you not to reach out to that girl that you love, you miss. You even want her back, even though you know that you came to the conclusion that the relationship had ended for a reason. And remember, that reason still stands. So it's harder now for persons in this modern era. So now, back to the grieving process. As I said before, this is the most important process to get past. And when I say get past, I don't mean ignore and override. And this concept is something that I have done in the past, and there's nothing innately wrong with it, because when you ignore and you override, you become focused on probably your work, probably the gym. You are focused on something and you get things done. The problem with this is that your brain tricks you into thinking that you are dealing with the problem, or you have dealt with the problem, the heartache, the breakup, whatever it is. When in fact, when you sit down, when the dust settles, everything begins rushing back in. So it's like you're reliving the breakup all over again. So what I advise you to do is that while it is good to stay busy or to be productive, separate it. Make a conscious decision to deal with the breakup. Feel it, immerse in it. And there are numerous ways that we can grieve. As men, we often think of grieving as crying. And I'm going to say this, and you may not agree with it. However, as a man, if you feel the need to cry. Let it out. I'm not telling you to go on social media and cry in front of the phone, or cry in front of the whole world, or even in front of other persons. No, that's not necessary. That's not something I would do. So I'm not going to recommend you do that. What I recommend is that you go by yourself if you have to. Let it out in your own personal space. That would only be between you and God. No one else have to know, but no need to know, as the Jamaican would say. And crying is not the only way of grieving. Persons shout. You go somewhere isolated and you scream. You just get it all out. That can be a huge stress reliever. As well as talking to somebody. As simple as that. Speaking to somebody can be of much help. And I did this personally. I have a small group of brothers where I can talk to about these type of things. So I share these things with them, and they don't have to say anything. They just listen. They just get it out, and it helps. You have, I wouldn't say journaling is a way of grieving, but it's a way of getting it out. You write your thoughts on paper, you get it out. You clear your mind. You can write it out and then burn it. For some person it doesn't work, but for some person it does. So there are numerous ways of grieving, and as I said, you don't have to cry. That's probably not the ideal for you, but there are other ways for you to grieve. But you need to get it out. You need to go through that grieving process in order for you to move on. And as I said before, that is the most important part. So after the grieving process, everything else, I'm not going to say is easy, but gets easier. So after you've passed, you've overcome the grieving process, the next thing is to set boundaries. Set boundaries to maintain your physical, even emotional well-being. What I mean by this is that when you're going into a new relationship, having that you've set your boundaries, you've set your belief, your standards. When someone comes along who isn't in line with those beliefs, or they breach that belief, they don't have any regards for it, then you know that person is probably not a person that I should invite into my life. That person is probably not the person for me. And you know that, alright, before it goes any further, you nip it in the bud. Which from the beginning you should have set boundaries and you watch for the red flags. I'm not saying you're gonna use the whole relationship to seek out red flags, but if you see something and you address it and it still continues, and you know that, alright, I need to take my leave. But we are humans, we do make mistakes, so what we need to do now is to learn from them so that it doesn't reoccur, it doesn't happen again. So the next thing after you set your boundaries is to explore new interests, new hobbies. Find something to do. And remember, you are not going to just stay busy, because you have already dealt with the grieving process. So now finding new hobbies, new interests, it could be different things, depending on your preference, on your lifestyle. So there are examples such as going to the gym. Persons go to the gym, they build their physique, build their mentality and whatever. That's a good way to, that's a good hobby, because in the gym you find like-minded persons like you, and that is something you want in a relationship. You want persons the same, I wouldn't say same hobbies, but a like-mindedness. When you know that, all right, you have the same structure, the same beliefs, it's easier to maneuver that. Now there are other things apart from going to the gym. You have journaling, and for me, journaling was something that helped me. Not that coming from directly from a breakup, but getting my thoughts out there, which in turn led to this YouTube channel. It started from journaling, putting my thoughts on paper, and then I got the brilliant idea to put it out into the world. So there are numerous ways we can get hobbies, build hobbies. Some persons use traveling. They have to have money for that. Well, not necessarily, but it's more ideal if you have the funds to fund your traveling. Persons even go to the extent as to shopping. Now, from a financial standpoint, I wouldn't recommend shopping, and I don't think shopping would be a good hobby, because you're gonna just constantly buy things that you don't need. That would be a waste for me. Thinking about that would be a waste. So I wouldn't recommend shopping, but there are numerous other ways to find hobbies or new interests. So after now, you've dealt with the grieving process, you've set your boundaries, you've explored new hobbies, new interests. So you are almost complete. Now, remember, embrace opportunities. This is the time where you embrace new opportunities. You embrace a new chapter in your life. Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel fulfilled. And if you need additional support or additional guidance, feel free to ask. I want this to be a community where persons feel comfortable, feel safe enough to come and ask for help, to ask for guidance, for assistance, whatever the situation may be, and not feel judged, but know that they will be met with an openness to help, or even to just listen, So whether it be in the comments or email or even on Instagram, I would love for you to reach out, and whatever help I can be of, I would love to be of that help.